Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spinner Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about the new album from New Beat Fund called Fingerz. So this is a band that normally I probably would have been covering on my Underground Corner segment, but after a couple fairly long group reviews, I just decided better to just make a video for every album I do until I'm more caught up with the year and catch up on my video content. Anyway, this is a band that I've known about for a couple years now, first from early to mid-2013 when I was going through the Warped Tour lineup. I came across this band and they were an immediate new favorite of mine. They're a four-piece from LA, and really the song that got me into them and is pretty representative of their overall sound and a lot of what I like about them is the song Scare Me. Again, it's a great kind of introduction to the band. It's this off-kilter indie pop sound full of these sound effects flying around, mixed with some hard rock jamming and an infectious chorus to center it all around it. Lyrically, it's just as absurd, basically coming from a character, at least who I hope is a character, that's just terrified of a long list of random stuff, from more legitimate political issues to stuff like Lady Gaga and getting caught having sex on Google Earth. It's actually a pretty funny song when you dig into the lyrics of this thing, and it says a lot that that this Lady Gaga reference is from a 2010 song. They put out the song in 2012 and they re-released it for this 2015 album, and I still don't really mind. There actually is a lot of stuff that I find myself pretty easily overlooking that I'm not really sure if everyone will be able to overlook, but I personally can. More in the way of the more silly elements of this. For example, the song Why So Mean, which has these gang vocals in the chorus saying, "Why is this bitch so mean?" Just basically obviously talking about a bad relationship and stuff like that. And between that and incredible lines if I say hell yeah, she says hell no. I say Bert, then she says Elmo. She sent me to the store to pick up her tampons. Just kind of these weird non sequitur lines like this. And also the song, there's also this ridiculously fun song on here called Sunday Funday, which is one of the singles from this thing, and for good reason. It's just this ridiculously fun, lightweight summer pop song. Basically it's being this hybrid of 60s surf rock and 80s ska. I mean, maybe it's just the Southern California in me, but I find myself really digging it, even if the lyrics are pretty much have nothing to offer in the way of substance. It's just something that I just find myself having a lot of fun with. Same thing to even a bigger extent with the song Hi Mom, which comes in sort of the back end of this album. To me, this is the epitome of a guilty pleasure, and really the kind of song that only New Beat Fund could pull off. It's this minimalist, pseudo hip-hop-ish song with this one buzzing synth and drum machine. It just goes through all this ridiculous stuff about having sex with aliens and just all kinds of sorta cliche hip-hop topics, I suppose, but it's just in such an over-the-top way that I don't really mind this for the same reason that I don't mind riff-raff whenever I hear them. And stay with me here, people. It's just that it's so absurd and obviously tongue-in-cheek that I just find it really hard to dislike. And if you do have a high threshold for this kind of stuff, then you'll probably find yourself enjoying it, even if it might go against what you normally enjoy. But there are also some more traditionally based songs here. Kind of one of the more straightforward ones come two in a row in the first half of this thing, those being Halloween Birthdays and Sick of Taking the Hard Way, which sort of take more of a 90s pop rock approach, or a power pop approach in the case of Sick of Taking the Hard Way. Definitely more straightforward pop songs here with not quite as much eccentricity. It's a bit more tuneful. And they actually make for a couple of my favorite moments on this album. They can kind of pull off both sides in that kind of way. The only moments here that I don't really think works for them, actually, are when they go, like, super sincere and serious and kinda soft and drawn out. Like the songs Let It Go and Telescope. I feel like they're, like, as much as I, hate to pigeonhole, they seem kind of out of character for, the people that they portray themselves as on this album. I guess, like, the best comparison I can make is, like, when Bowling for Soup tries to make a ballad. It's like, you can commend them for the effort, but it's not exactly the kind of thing you go to them for, and it just doesn't really fit well with their overall aesthetic, I guess. Like, it just feels kind of awkward sticking in the middle of a track list right next to a song like, say, Sunday, Funday, or Scare Me. The one moment here where I do think they kind of pull this off is actually on the closer here, Helena, which is one of my favorites. It's got this great building instrumentation that gets more and more, like, rockish and distorted as it goes on. Really great, like, musicianship on this song, especially compared to the rest of the album, even though it's not exactly slacking. It's got relatively simple composition, but they really managed to make it work. I thought it was a great closer to this album. Also, if you're looking for something that sort of represents the overall sound of this album, I think the opener Any Day is a great example of that. It's got this very playful presentation to it, slightly cocky, but in a really likable way. It's got this, like, murky bass, psychedelic guitar leads, and it managed to, and like with a lot of this album, it managed to toe that line of being silly, but not stupid. Like what I allude to there, especially applies on the song Bako Dozo, which I admittedly kind of had a hard time getting into at first. To me, it almost, like, went a little too far, in that, like, it's sort of this obnoxious stoner jam that, from what I suddenly realized, lifts this guitar lead straight from Semisonic's Closing Time. But personally, I still can't help but like it, just because of the sheer amounts of personality that New Beat Fun puts into this album. Overall, I really enjoyed this album. And, it says a lot that this kind of has, like, a slackerish attitude to it, which is something that doesn't really match with my personality whatsoever, even though I've lived in, like, the San Diego area my entire life, so you'd think it would. But I still think that there is a lot of replay value to this album. It's definitely one of the more fun albums that you're going to hear this year. The timing of the release of this album in June was pretty much perfect, since I can definitely see myself coming back to this a lot over the course of the summer. An album that I really highly recommend, and even though it's not exactly perfect, there are some moments that maybe go a little over the line in my opinion. These guys definitely have a ton of potential, and I can definitely see them putting out, like, a really fantastic album in the future, as long as they know to, stick to what I'm seeing from my perspective are their main strengths, which is just being kind of goofy, and still combining it with just really good pop songwriting. So I'm going to give this a 7.5. So if you guys happen to have heard this album, what do you think about it? Do you agree with what I had to say? Do you disagree? Have any feedback about the channel in general? If I introduced you to this album and you happen to like it, please let me know in the comments, because that always makes me feel kind of good when I can introduce people to great underground bands like this. Anyway, share this around with anyone who might be interested. Like the Facebook page in the description for updates, and hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spinner Reviews.